For the 2025 model year, the Hyundai Tucson sees some subtle but meaningful improvements. It's been a few years since we've tested the hybrid model on our highway fuel economy test, so do we think that the fuel economy has improved at all? Tonight we'll find out. Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor. Today we've got the real-world highway fuel economy test on the 2025 Hyundai Tucson Hybrid. In this test, I'm going to head out on the highway and do 50 miles out and 50 miles back, averaging 70 miles per hour, to get a realistic fuel economy number for this compact crossover. Before we get started, let's hop out and take a look at it. I am a big fan of the Tucson, and I like it even better for 2025. It sees some very subtle styling improvements, some meaningful tweaks to the interior, and overall, this is a good compact crossover made even better. Now, I don't suspect any meaningful changes to our highway fuel economy, but you never know. Never know what sort of changes might have happened. So if you do want to see more on the car, check the link below. We've got a dedicated review of the Bose sound system, a full pros and cons review. We've also got coverage of the pre-facelift models, both with the naturally aspirated non-hybrid motor, and then this one right here. So why do we do this test? Well, the EPA's highway fuel economy test, which gives the Tucson 35 miles per gallon, not only on the highway, but in all driving situations, that test only averages 48 miles per hour. And because of that, it does favor hybrids a little bit because you're not getting up to the steady state speeds where the hybrid aspect really isn't that beneficial for you. We know there are plenty of people who go out and do big miles on their vehicles and would like to know what sort of numbers you can realistically expect here in the real world. So in order to test that out, I'm going to head over to the gas station here tonight when there's less traffic. I'm going to go out and do 100 miles, come back, fill up at the same pump using the same 3-click fueling method, and get a result. Now, a few things to note for tonight. Outside temperature should be somewhere in the high 50s, low 60s or so. I'm going to set the tire pressure to the door placard. What was it? I think it was 35 PSI? Yes, 35 PSI front and rear. And we're going to run the climate control at 73 degrees auto. So, without any further ado, let's head to the gas station. We've got our climate control set to 73 auto, and we are ready to begin. And we do have a few different drive modes in here: Eco, Sport, My Drive, and Snow. I kind of appreciate that the Tucson Hybrid defaults to Eco mode, because the way I see it is, okay, if you're driving a hybrid, why would you not want to get as good a fuel economy as possible when you're just driving around? So instead of doing a normal and an Eco, they just do Eco. I quite like that. I'm seeing Android Auto being very bright here, not liking that. We'll have to try to figure that out as we're driving. But off we go. Now, the goal of this test isn't to hypermile. We're not trying to get the best possible fuel economy for this car, but rather a realistic figure. So in order to do that, we're going to get up to highway speed here at a reasonable pace and set our cruise control at a GPS-indicated 71 miles per hour. And that should allow us to average 70 over the whole test. So far, quite impressed by the interior noise, very low. GPS is telling us that the speedo is quite accurate. Looks like 71 on the dash is giving us somewhere between 71 and 70 on the GPS. So it's looking like I might actually have to settle in at 72 on the car in order to get, yep, there we go, 71 on the GPS. Like to have just a little bit of a low reading like that. Active lane keeping already kicking in. This is one of the better ones on the market. You can see it's taking us through this corner very confidently. Yeah, let's get this panoramic sunroof closed and hear what it sounds like. But already it seems decently quiet on this concrete section of highway. Alright, well, I'm going to continue on with the test, catch up with you at the end. I'm going to do some members-only testing on the audio system in here, so check the link below if you want to see that. And we'll catch up with you at the end. In the meantime, enjoy this time-lapse of the entire trip. Coming into the end of the highway fuel economy test here in the Hyundai Tucson Hybrid. Numbers are a little bit lower than the EPA. We're getting 3 miles per gallon lower, at least according to the vehicle's trip readout. We'll see how that calculates at the pump. Now, we did have a weird situation. I've been doing this route for over a year now, almost weekly, and the Border Patrol checkpoint south of San Clemente and north of Oceanside was actually stopped, and they were stopping people and waving them through there. So technically had to come to an extra stop for that. But other than that, test was pretty clean. Looks like our moving average is 68 miles per hour thanks to that extra bit of slowdown. We were probably stopped for about 2 minutes or so. Tack shot, looking at it here, what are we looking at 72 miles per hour? We're about 2,000, just over 2,100 RPM. So pretty average results there. Other than that, I actually quite like being in this car. It's comfortable. The sound system is impressive to me. I'm going to do a full test on it and see what sort of ranking it gets, but it's definitely an improvement for 2025. The active lane keeping works well. The adaptive cruise control is a little conservative. I find that a car will be fairly far in front of me and we'll be coming up onto it and it'll slowly slow down. I gotta check. This might be one of those cars where you can adjust the aggressiveness of the adaptive cruise control, but you find yourself looking down, you're like, oh, I'm doing 4 miles per hour lower than my set cruise limit because the car slowed down so imperceptibly to follow the traffic in front of it. What else? Climate control's been good. Steering is nice. I like the thin steering wheel. Yeah, and it was fairly quiet in here as well. So far, seems like a really good highway cruiser, even though we might not be getting quite the EPA numbers according to the pump readout. But we're gonna get the car. Man, I can't talk tonight. We're gonna get the car back here. I'm gonna fill it up, and then we'll crunch the numbers with you in the daylight. All fueled up the next day, and I have to say, looking at the initial amount of fuel put in, I think we're in pretty good shape here, maybe even better than the vehicle's readout. We traveled 100.3 miles divided by the 2.838 gallons that went in. Okay, so quite a bit better than the vehicle's readout, which might make sense to me because I forgot to mention last night, but the vehicle's readout was 2 miles below our GPS readout. So the car said we had only done 98 miles when we'd actually done 100. I don't know how that factors into the vehicle's readout when it comes to fuel economy, but according to the pump, we're getting 35 miles per gallon, which is a little bit higher than the last 2022 Tucson Hybrid that we tested. I believe that one came out to 34 MPG, if I'm remembering correctly. It was either 34 or 35. Quite a bit higher than the vehicle's readout, but matching EPA. So I'm going to give it to the car because a lot of you get upset when I don't go off of the pump calculation. I personally believe that there's a decent amount of error that can factor into the pump calculation, but we'll give it to the car. 35 MPG here for the 2025 Hyundai Tucson Hybrid Limited. I think 34 would be a safe number for you as well if you were really banking on what you're going to see here in the real world, but 34, 35, still pretty darn good. And it is worth noting that if you get the blue model, one of the non-limiteds, it's a little more fuel efficient, you're going to see a few miles per gallon better here cruising on the highway with different sized wheels, a little bit different packaging. We've got a 13.7 gallon fuel tank in here, so 13.7 times 35 MPG is giving you a healthy, effective highway cruising range of 470 miles for the 25 Tucson Hybrid. So this is a great all-around package, and you get a few miles per gallon better with the hybrid. And even if you're paying a little bit more, you're getting a much better driving experience overall. So I'd recommend it. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the facelifted Tucson, check the link below. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.